right. You are listening to METALHEADS Podcast. This is Jay.
This is Buke.
This is George.
And we are very happy to be joined today by Dallas Toler-Wade of the mighty Nile and Narcotic Wasteland. Dallas, we can't thank you enough for coming on, man.
Oh man, it's great to be here.
Cool. I can tell you, this is kind of one of those moments for me where, we've been doing the pod for a while. I joined after the other boys, and every once in a while we score an interview we're really proud of, and you're a big deal to me, dude. I think of you as Nile's secret weapon. I think Carl's kind of the face of the band sometimes, but I think of you as like the real fucking deal, dude. Up there keeping it real, the riff master, sing a lot of the lead stuff. Love your stuff, dude.
Thanks.
Well, hey, man, I'm going to jump straight into it because one of the things I really want to talk about is Narcotic Wasteland, which I think is a really great record. And so one of the things I was going to ask you first off about it was how the project came about. I'd love to know if these were friends of yours. Did you kind of recruit these guys, the other members of the band? What can you tell us about it?
Well, it started off as just like some stuff that I was working on just when Nile wasn't busy, and I was like, I'll probably just put it out and do all the instruments myself. But as I continued to write for it, I just really, really wanted to have a band, and it not necessarily be a side project, but be something that I can do when Nile's not busy. And the lead guitarist, Ed Rohn, I've known that guy since I was a teenager, and me and him used to play in bands together back in Fayetteville, North Carolina, my hometown. And we always really clicked, worked really well together, had a great time together. We had the issue that a lot of people have of just trying to find other members that were as serious as we were. So, that kind of morphed into that, and I really miss playing with the guy and working with him because we did, like I said, we worked so well together. And he recommended Chris, which is also a guy from our hometown, for bass and vocals, and it just kind of clicked. But you can't necessarily find a drummer of that caliber down the street, unfortunately. So George Colias actually recommended Eric Schultek to do the record because it was coming to the breaking point. The record actually sat there for a whole year completed before I could find anybody that could pull the weight on the drum end. So we got up with Eric. He did a great job. He helped us. He pretty much he mixed the record, and did all that stuff. And, we did all the tracking, in my studio for all the other instruments. And, we're, trying to, in the future, get some shows and stuff going on. Right now it hasn't had like a whole lot of, the response has been really good, but we don't really have the buzz isn't big enough to justify going out and trying to do like a tour or anything yet. And that's fine. I hope to do some of these festivals. There's a lot more of these festivals popping up in the U.S., so it'd be great to get on a few of those. You know what I mean?
I do. And I'd love to see you guys live, man. I mean, it's interesting to me that you've known the other guitar player for so long because it is so tight. And actually, I kind of want to mention one other thing, which is I think the production on it is exemplary.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's sharp and clear and just in your face. It really sounds great. And so I can fully see where you're coming from. Like you say, you got a little buzz going. But I think when people really, really hear the record, if it gets on the right places, you're going to have a following big time with this band, man, because it's just something special.
Yeah, I heard this first time just a couple days ago when Jay was telling me about it. And first listen through, I was hooked. It's a great album.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you dig it. A lot of emotion went into putting all that together.
I would like to talk about that very thing, if you don't mind, because I'll be honest with you. You sound pretty fucking pissed off on this record, man. And I'd like to know some of the driving, stories, if I may, behind it. I know you said you lost some friends to hard drugs and things like that. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's been happening on and off, with friends over the years. All of a sudden I find out that someone's passed away. And, back in the day, I used to party pretty hard myself. But I never got into like the pills and the heroin or anything like that. It was mostly just beer and pot and acid.
Yeah.
Which, now it's just beer. But wasn't
that also known as the Grateful Dead way of life?
Probably, I don't know.
You should have been a dead. You should have been a deadhead.
We used to get the Sid from there, but yeah. Yeah, it was just something that really started to drive me. And then the second song that was written for the record was Absent Friends, which is the last track on the record. And that song is actually about a girl that I was kind of dating for a while that ended up overdosing. And that was very hard for me to deal with. But there were also other things like the title track, Widespread Narcotic Wasteland. When I say that there was a bullet hole in my son's bedroom wall, there actually was.
Wow.
Jesus.
And he was with me that day, luckily. And stuff like that. So there is a lot of angst and aggression and just overall disappointment, I think, in people allowing themselves to just get that way. But, it doesn't make a person a bad person to be an addict. It's a disease. It's something that people just have. Some people just shouldn't drink, or some people shouldn't do any of that stuff. And
also, Dallas, they also come in many different forms too. People have a disease. That's why you have hoarders. That's why you have people with eating diseases. That's why you have OCD people. You have all different type. Unfortunately, with some people, they get hooked on it, and the allure of that feeling good for a little bit takes over, and you're overdosing on something tragically.
Yeah, some people can do moderation. You can have one drink and you're good, and other people, there's just no stopping.
This kind of leads me into one of the questions I wanted to ask you at the start. We're talking about, I love the honesty. It's, some artists and stuff that we've talked to a bunch. It seem like they're a little guarded with some things. Nile, it's pretty well known that all your guys' lyrical themes and a lot of the albums have this, Egyptian kind of type of theme with them. Was it kind of refreshing, and was making this new project, was that the only way you could start to do albums and songs like this? Because it was never going to work
to branch out.
Nile?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot. I practice a lot. I have a setup here where if I get an idea, I can just lay it down like that. And not everything that I think of will work with Nile. Not to mention the fact that the tuning for Narcotic is D sharp standard, so it's only a half step off of standard E. Nile's way down in A, and while I love to play with that super deep, heavy kind of death metal tone, I'm really more of a thrashy kind of punk. I'm really into like crossover, like DRI. There's a band actually called Birth AD out of Austin, Texas. I don't know if you heard of those guys. Pretty fucking killer. So yeah, it is something that I just I wanted to do something a little different. And, I think Carl did the same thing too with the Saurian meditation thing. It's kind of like the other elements. So it's still definitely Carl, and it's definitely got the Nile thing to it, but it was sometimes it breathes new life into whatever it is you're doing, to just branch off and try some different stuff. And I just feel like, I've been playing music for coming up on about 30 years now. And I feel like I got a lot of stuff left, a lot of ideas and stuff that I want to do, particularly with the Narcotic and with the music and songs that I contribute to the Nile list. And
wow, cool! That was awesome. You just said nihilist.
I know. I was thinking that too.
Sweet. I got to tell you, it's cool that you described it the way you did, Dallas, because it is almost like a crossover record. Because it's such socially conscious lyrics that it's got a kind of punk avenue to it a little bit. And that's, to me, that brings in this little extra artistic curve that I really dig. I'm going to keep turning this interview into me praising you, but it's really cool. That works. It's really working on the record. So
that's
cool stuff,
man. A lot of people, not a lot of people. Some people really did get the lyrics. Some people thought the lyrics on the Narcotic record were terrible. And my argument to that was, well, what constitutes? I'm not writing I'm not writing poetry here. It needs to be straightforward. I wasn't trying, because there's a lot of bands out there in the death metal category or extreme metal category or whatever. In the metal category, they have a bunch of thesaurus words put together that don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be really straight. And, if one day you're going to drown in your vomit and die, there you go. Perfect. That's great.
I feel like I know. I feel like I know what you're trying to tell us on the record, and that's it. It works, man. Hey, you just kind of mentioned that band from Texas. I wanted to ask you kind of what are the bands that you like these days, and I'd also like to know like what are the bands that kind of got you going as a kid too. Who are some of the people you love?
Well, when I was growing up, I started out on the drums, and so as soon as I discovered Rush, that was pretty much probably all I listened to for like 2 years.
Right.
But of course, all the usual suspects: Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Rush, Yes, all the stuff, early Alice Cooper stuff. Actually, the stuff that my mom was listening to.
Right on.
She grew up as kind of a rocker too, so that was kind of stuff she was listening to. I remember returning the favor later by turning her on to Rush. She'd never heard of them, so big Rush fans. And then of course we had an AM radio station I used to listen to, and I think that was the first time I heard Slayer
on AM radio.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Rock 1450. And they had them, and they were playing like that, and like Metallica and all that stuff. And so I started getting more into that, and I was big into Van Halen too, but not really a guitarist yet. But I think the band that really made me want to play guitar, I think was probably that first Metal Church record when I was about 13 or 14.
We were just talking about that album.
Just talking about it.
I love that. I was just specifically talking about the track Battalions. Fucking love that song.
Yeah, I think my favorite one is probably the first one on the record, Beyond the Black.
That's really good too.
When we played, Nile played 70,000 Tons of Metal a few years back, and Metal Church was on that, and they played the whole first album in its entirety.
Wow.
Sweet. I'd love to know how that experience was, that 70,000 Tons of Metal, since you brought it up.
Oh, it was great. I mean, what I remember of it, we were
having a good time.
My bar bill was ridiculous.
It was 70,000 tons in fucking
70,000 tons of liquor.
Yeah, we had a good time, man. We had a good time. The strange thing was when I got home finally, and everything was still kind of moving.
Does it get any better though than not having to drive, not even being able to go anywhere because you're on a fucking boat? The worst that can happen is what? You fall overboard. I guess there's,
Which is pretty bad, mind you. But
another highlight at that show, which was also another early influence of mine, was particularly on guitar, was Flotsam and Jetsam.
Love them too.
Also fans here. We're all fans too.
What's your favorite Flotsam album?
Dallas, we were just talking about this.
Hey,
why do you think ever since No Place came out, they've kind of lost their way?
I don't know, man. I think Quattro's pretty good, but I'd still, my favorite's that first one, man. Maybe it was just because it was the first one I heard, and I was so young and impressionable, particularly on the guitar at that time. And I just loved I love the tone of the record.
Yeah. I first heard Hammerhead on the Metal Shop radio show back in the day. It was like every Sunday night at like 10 o'clock at night, they'd play metal for an hour, and each week they'd play, have like a new release. They'd play a new song, and that was my first time hearing Flotsam was when they played Hammerhead.
They're putting together their new record right now. We were just talking about that recently, so we're all interested to see what they're going to do on the next one. Oh,
yeah. And those guys are so good live. I mean, wow, they're super tight. And the dude still got the voice too, man.
Yeah, we saw them just like maybe 2 years ago, and they sounded great.
Yeah. Super fun.
I had the good fortune to see you guys on the last tour, Dallas, where you did the sort of basically what I would call an evening with Nile. You did 2 big long sets, something off every record. What is it like after a night like that, man? I mean, you guys were up there for a long time, and is it physically demanding to play the guitar live in that fashion?
I probably like the first week, I was probably feeling it a little bit. But luckily, the second set was more of the older material, which we've been playing for so long, and some of it's not quite as fast as some of the new stuff. So
Yeah.
It felt kind of like a break on the second set.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, we're over the hump, so let's grab a beer and give them some Blessed Dead. You know what I mean? And
You had a big smile on your face, man, by the way. You really looked just happy to be out there. I saw you in San Francisco. That's where I live out here. And you just looked like you're having a great time.
Good.
good old Sims, right?
Yeah, Slims. Yeah, that's a good place to see a show.
Speaking about
we love that
looks,
place.
speaking about looks and about looking good on stage, Dallas, I mean this with the most respect. I'm not poking fun. When did you realize the hair and the Devin Townsend look was a losing battle?
Well, for me,
Because I remember when I saw a picture of you with the shaved head, I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah. I had actually shaved my head years ago when I was like in my late teens, early 20s. So it's not anything new, really, to me. It's one extra step that you have to take care of when you're on the road and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm looking to streamline my life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying the fucking deal with staring in the mirror with my hair all day long.
I will admit, you guys on stage looked fucking badass, whipping it all around.
Sure. Yeah,
So we're kind of talking about Nile here, and I got to tell you, we are in a very fortunate position because we have this little program, and so we get promos before they come out. So we've heard and got the new Nile record, which I also want you to know, though I firm belief in financially supporting bands, so I also pre-ordered it on vinyl. It's devastatingly great, super heavy, super good record. I got a first question to ask you about it is, I read an interview with George, and he said it has the hardest Nile song he's ever played on it, and I'll be fucked if I can guess which one it is. But do you know what he was talking about?
it's probably the fill work that's in the title track.
Okay.
That's probably the lick I think I know the lick he's talking about. It's some kind of shuffly quad thing, and just the overall. There's a lot of changes in some of the songs, and so that can be pretty challenging. I know for me personally, songs like "Call to Destruction," "Evil to Cast Out Evil," those are going to be definite songs we'll end up playing live.
Good.
And "Call to Destruction" for me, singing and playing at the same time will probably be one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
Actually, boy, Dallas, you really you keep hitting on the questions I want to ask, and that's great because one of them is I do play and sing. I'm in a band myself. We're not Nile, mind you, but one of the most challenging things is to play and sing at the same time. And I'm not joking, dude. There's nobody else in metal that I can think of that I look at and I think, how the fuck does he do that? Because you guys' stuff is so all over the map. It's startling. So it's interesting to hear that there are some challenges for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my most straight path to success with that is to get so comfortable and familiar with the guitar playing, to where that's really a second nature kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then just read along, because what will end up happening is, especially if it's been a while, if you're bringing back an old song, you'll have like the lyrics there. I'll duct tape them to the wall of the rehearsal room. So then at that point, I'm reading, singing, and playing at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it just takes it's just repetition, man, to get that muscle memory going and getting just familiarized with the song. And then what ends up happening is the singing and the playing becomes one full expression.
Yeah.
And
right on.
That's really impressive. As someone that used to fancy himself being able to do both singing and playing, I was never able to do them at the same time. As soon as I say one word, my hands just
Off on their own.
Yeah, I've never been able to do those two independent thoughts at the same time. So that's truly like mind blowing that people can do that.
talking about the new record too, I feel like it's got a little bit raw, a slightly more raw production quality in a good way. Something I'm really enjoying the new record. I want to let you know I think Call to Destruction would be a great song to open with on fucking tour because that's a fucking killer opening track. What are your feelings about the record? How are you liking it now as you're getting to finally listen to it?
I really enjoy it. I think we achieved exactly what we wanted. You know, a lot of people didn't really like the sounds of Sethu. What we were going for was kind of a thrashy but super clean sound. And we discovered, well, the super surgical, squeaky clean thing doesn't really work for this band. It just, as tight and as fucking crazy as that record is, it's just too clean. And, but you can't, there's two things. You don't want to put out the same record every time, and you want to try different things and experiment. So we did that. So we came back to this, and we were just like, well, you know, we were kind of missing that big wall of Nile guitar, and I think some of the fans were missing it too. So we gave them the wall again. We gave them the secret signal path, the secret Nile ingredient, once again, got fired up. And it came out beautiful. Me and Carl worked really hard on it, very closely every day, dialing in the tone and all that. And another thing that we wanted to make damn sure this time is that there was some bass guitar on this fucking record.
You know,
there is bass guitar on the record.
Absolutely. You know, and the production style to me sounds like maybe somewhere mixed between Annihilation of the Wicked and maybe something a little bit, one of your slightly more darker records like maybe Black Seeds of Vengeance. It's like you mash those two together production-wise to me. I mean, it works, man. And it's not, I have a medium grade stereo in my car, and it's just punishing in my car. Sounds great.
Good. Yeah, because, you know, when you're listening to stuff and you're trying to make critical decisions about it, it's good to listen to it on different speakers that you know what they're supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
So if it's crushing in the car, then hell yeah, mission accomplished. Because I think a lot of people mostly listen to stuff in the car nowadays anyways. I think the days of the audiophile and the 15-inch Serwin Vegas in the home stereo system are kind of over, unfortunately.
Yeah, first off, not for us here, but
Yeah. But you're right.
500 vinyl records over my shoulder here. Not for
Hell
us,
yeah.
but hey, man, if I'm asking you, one of the things that shines through about you guys always is you and Carl seem to have a very close friendship. That it really shines through that a lot of these other bands. Yeah, I know we're just talking to you right now, but it seems like a lot of the bands that we talk to, or we being the public see, it's separate entities always. And you and Carl seem like you guys could be fucking brothers, and it comes off. And I wanted to credit you guys and ask you, what do you attribute that to?
Well, you know, we're like-minded for one. I mean, we want to do the same things and accomplish the same things, and you know, we've been through hell and back.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'm sure at times you're like, Carl, I hate you.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, we very rarely had anything like that, and when we do, if there's a misunderstanding or something like that, you know, we just talk about it. There are people out there that will bottle some shit up and never say anything. And I've never been that guy. I tell you like it is to your face. And, you know, and Carl's kind of the same way. And, you know, we usually end up having problems with other people.
Right. Yeah.
We're a team, man. You know, we're here for the band. We're not here for any individual gain. You know, we want to move forward and look out for each other, man. You know, we're both family men, and you know, we depend on each other to be there. And you know, we always have great conversations on the phones, and you know, the chemistry live is always a lot of fun. And you know,
it's probably safe to assume when you said, "Hey, I'm going to do this album," from what you just said, Carl's like, "Okay, probably fucking do it, man."
The Narcotic Wasteland you're talking about?
Yeah.
I remember playing the demos for him one night. I was over there. Well, I think this was probably right at the end of the Sethu sessions or whatever. I remember playing him some of the demos or whatever. He seemed to really dig it. And yeah, the guys have been totally supportive about all that, So
I like his solo records are really good too. By the way, you mentioned them a while back there. He astonishes me with his sort of Eastern, knowledge of Eastern scales and so on and so forth. It's almost bizarre. It's like he was sort of born at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like I read in an interview recently that he'd been invited once to go to a college and talk about Egyptology. But that he turned it down because he thought he'd just be the metal oddity in the room, So he was sort of like, "Fuck those guys." But yeah, I mean, his knowledge is pretty startling towards that stuff. I'm kind of still on the Nile trip here. I want to ask you: do you have a favorite Nile record, Dallas?
Oh wow, that would be a tough one. But Annihilation has always really stuck out for me.
That's my favorite. All right, well, we have that in common then. I also want to point out. Go ahead,
Jay. May I ask a follow up to that?
Please.
With it being so hard for bands to catch on and get some traction in this day and age, to be a extreme band, which you guys are, when you have seen success and a name in the metal world is almost a household name, when did you start to realize, like, hey, man, there's something here to this?
Nile,
was it around maybe In Their Darkened Shrines? Was it around Annihilation?
Well, Shrines is when things really started to take off for us. And that was the record that kind of broke through to our surprise because, when I joined Nile and by the time Carl and Pete and Chief were doing Nile, pretty much all of us had given up on like going on tour and trying to actually do it. We didn't give a damn anymore about that. And then, of course, that's when things start to happen when you just kind of abandon everything. But like, so. We got those Morbid Angel tours on the first record. That was a big help to us. And then Black Seeds came out. It was really well received. We got to do another trip to Europe. And then when Shrines came out, I don't know, something definitely broke. Yeah. Because the next thing you know, we're headlining, We sold out the Key Club and LA on that tour. I remember the only other band that had, I think maybe even to this day, had that amount of attendance or beat our attendance was Meshuggah. But I don't know that for sure. That was a long time ago.
I've never heard of that band.
I think Shrines was the one that definitely broke through, and then Annihilation was a really successful time as well. And it's been pretty consistent since then. No like lulls or downs or even further ups or anything like that. It's just kind of a steady burn.
Well, I think your followers are kind of like Slayer followers. It's sort of like I once heard somebody say about Slayer, you never hear anybody say, yeah, I was kind of into them for a summer. You know what I mean? Like once you're a Nile fan, you're kind of dyed in the wool after that.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely seems... that's one of the things that you're making an impression when somebody walks up and they have Nile tattoos on them.
Yeah.
Dallas, you just mentioned them going on tour. Have you read into any of this drama going on with Morbid Angel now?
Not really. I've heard a few things because we have the same manager and we use some of the same crew. But I haven't really heard much about it. I heard that Trey fired everybody.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, Dallas, like for all we know, like someone could come out and like things were so fluid and volatile for a couple of days. Like it could have been announced like you were the next guy for Morbid. Like things like
it's pretty much everybody coming out and going, either I am in the band or I am not in the band. Whether you're in the band or not, it's just a guessing game of who is in Morbid Angel today.
That's kind of crazy, man. I have no idea what the hell's going on in that camp, but I wish them the best. I remember reading something from Tucker. Somebody was saying, is David and Tucker going to be jamming together? And Tucker said something like, no, I play death metal or some shit like that. I was like, wow. But, I like to hear information.
It's frustrating for us too, because obviously we're all fans, man, and we are fans that obsessively read liner notes and shit, and so we need information too. You know what I mean? Like I gotta know when's the tour starting, what's happening, and I like to hear in-depth interviews and so on and so forth. Not unlike our show.
Well, there's so much internet stuff being out there, Jay and Dallas. It seems like a lot of websites and stuff now to put out that hey, Nile's going on tour. That's almost yeah, we're going to put it out, but that's kind of boring. But if Dallas, if they have video of you punching Carl, fucking it's plastered all over 30 sites.
It's
You know?
tabloid.
That's what people really think they care about.
It's tabloid stuff, man.
You'd
Yeah.
think metal would be
There we
above
go.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think metal would be above that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, guys? I'm going to take a moment here because I want to steer us a little bit back towards Narcotic Wasteland, but I also want Dallas to let us know what is the first song we should play off of this. We're going to play 2 songs on our show here today. And you got one in mind that we could plug in here, Dallas? And can you say something about that, the particular title?
Yeah, it's going to be Addicted to Junk, and the reasoning behind this is because it's one of my favorite songs on the record, but out of all of the stuff that I've seen, nobody's really said much about it for whatever reason. And Ed Rohn, the lead guitarist, wrote the music for the song. I wrote the lyrics, and it's one of my favorites. It's the fastest track on the record, and it's just got a lot of guitar sorcery, and it's got a really kind of heavy, nasty thing. You almost want to, like, I don't know, take a bath or something after you listen to it, because it's just the lyrics and everything. It's got this like kind of slithery, sleazy feeling, dirty heroin needle kind of feel to it, you know. So
That's about the best intro we could ask for. So without further ado, here is Addicted to Junk.
Addicted
All right, that was Addicted to Junk from Narcotic Wasteland's first record. I'm hoping there's going to be a second one. It's one of the things I want to ask you about, Dallas. Got any plans for the future here with this band?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm about 5 songs into the new one already. And it'll just be a matter of having the time to finish up a few more songs and then track it and put it out.
Awesome, man. And then you already sort of mentioned it, but I'm really hoping we're going to see a possibility for some tour dates with this group. I'd love to see you guys live, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed about that one.
Me too.
Right on. Hey, I wanted to ask you about a particular track on the record, if that's all right. It has an interesting title, and it's called Coastal Killings. Is that kind of based on some actual factual things? I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of the, lyrically, it's kind of the oddball out on the record. It's about South Carolina's most famous serial killer, Donald Henry Pee Wee Gaskins.
Oh, man. He was doomed from the start. He had to be a serial killer.
Oh, yeah, and he was a little guy. But I read the book. It's called The Final Truth, and it's basically someone that basically recorded him talking about everything that he had done and made a book out of it. And as soon as you open it up and start reading it, it's like by the time you start reading this, I'll already be pretty much fried in the electric chair or whatever. But he was one of the worst serial killers that I know about. There's some stuff that I don't even want to mention that he did that's so horrible. But he also was into extortion and chopping cars and burning down barns for insurance money and shit like that. He was into all that kind of stuff. But he was also had this, he would get this feeling in his stomach and he had to kill. And that happened right out near Myrtle Beach or Sumter, South Carolina.
Damn.
And I found it really interesting, and it is kind of a departure from what the other songs are talking about. But at the same time, I've said this in a Nile interview. Somebody said to me one time, "So are you guys ever going to run out of material? Blah blah blah, this, that, and the other thing. Are you just going to get bored with it?" Well, first off, there's thousands of years of history there that you can pick from. But, we don't necessarily have to write songs about Egypt if we don't want to. I mean,
No, Alex, you have to, or else the internets would fucking explode. Do you realize what you would do?
Always write songs about Iron Maidens,
Yeah, right.
But could you imagine the headlines if it was announced tomorrow the next Nile album was about Paris, France history? Fucking the internets would explode.
Actually, I kind of want to hear that all of a sudden, though.
I
got one question, George. I just got to sneak in, though, which is that sound bite at the beginning of Coastal Killings. Is that him?
Yes, it is him. There was a show on Investigation Discovery called Twisted, and it was all about these documentaries about serial killers. And he was the first one. He was the first show. And I took those straight from the show.
It works. Hey, it's so spooky because of just the kind of business-like way he's talking about it, man. It works. It works really well as an intro to that track.
Yeah, and what he's talking about is the last person that he killed, he was already on death row. But the person that was in line to be in the electric chair in front of the guy, he had robbed a convenience store and shot this dude's parents all up that they own the store, and the guy was trying to hire Gaskins to kill him. So he snuck in the makings of a bomb and told the prisoner that if I run this wire up through the wall, we can talk to each other, and we can have walkie-talkies, and we can talk to each other while we're in our cells.
Wow.
And as soon as he put that thing up to his head and said, "Can you hear me now?" Boom! He blew his fucking head off.
Holy shit.
While he was on death row. He killed somebody while he was on death row. That's how fucking evil this guy was.
That's messed up.
And I don't know where anybody stands. I still don't know where I stand about the death penalty, to be honest with you. There's a lot of controversy. There always has been around it. But if you don't believe in it, he'll make you want to believe in it.
George, I totally interrupted you. It looked like you had a burning question there.
Well, it wasn't burning, but the moment sort of passed. It was when you were talking about, Nile doesn't have to write about Egyptian themes. I was curious if when the songwriting process happens, and do you ever come across Egyptian terms and you're like, how the fuck do I say this? Because I know I feel like I read a lot and I can say words, unlike Buke here. Has a little trouble with that. Do you ever go, what the hell is this Egyptian word? Because I know, going through the songs and some of the lyrics, you just come across a word and you go, well, it's obviously Egyptian because I cannot say this.
Yeah, we take our best guess at it, and I would, and sometimes I'll ask Carl, like, do you have any suggestions on how exactly this needs to be pronounced? And he's like, well, shit, man, who knows if anybody's even said that thing in 1,000 years? And
Good
it's
point.
pretty much whatever best guess you can make is what it's got to be, because we don't know, and we there's no way to actually know how some of that was said.
That does take a little bit of the pressure off when there's not going to be some pharaoh stepping up and going, excuse me, you said that wrong.
Yeah, no witnesses.
Yeah. So we try to get it as accurately as possible, and some of that stuff is pretty tricky, and it can be a tongue twister to get right, and then after a while you just get used to it, and then it works. But yeah, we definitely, especially on some of the earlier records, it was like, what the hell is this? It's like a bunch of abbreviations and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could just briefly, I'd love for you to plug it, but also just kind of want to know what your touring plans are coming up. I know when we were trying to set the time up for this, I told George, well, maybe we could do something in September. And George said, no, he's in France. So I know you're going to France. What else you guys got coming up?
Well, we're leaving on the 25th to do a European tour with Suffocation. And the first day is going to be in Warsaw, Poland, and it's going to be called the Massive Fest. The touring company that we use over there, Massive Music, they're celebrating their 25-year anniversary, I think. And so Marduk's going to be at that show. I think Vader's going to be at that show, and us and Suffocation. But yeah, it's our European tour. We leave out on the 25th, and I'll be back on like the 28th of September. And I think there's one day off. Rock and roll, right?
That's rough, dude.
Rock and roll.
That's
Like,
the way.
really,
Can I
that?
ask you this, brother? I saw a video the other day of you guys playing Bloodstock in 2012. And I've seen clips of you guys playing Wacken in the past. How is it playing these huge festivals for all these people?
It's a lot of fun. With faster music, it doesn't seem to translate as well, in my opinion. I think real fast music belongs in a small club, so you can hear the details. Out there, it's great. You get to connect with a lot of people and all that, and of course, some of the slower stuff really hooks well live in a big open setting like that. I love it. I love the big festivals. I love the atmosphere of the big festivals. As far as the sound quality, I'd prefer to play a shitty dive.
That's why you love Jack so much.
They had a great system in that place.
Yeah, well, it's gone now. I think it was better on stage. Yeah. Better on stage than in the crowd, these boys tell me.
Depended on the show.
Well, that sounds great. You guys, I want to kind of really be respectful of Dallas's time here. So have you guys got any kind of like questions you want to close up with or anything like that?
I'm good.
Buke?
I have nothing. I will
defer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to kind of say, so you got that. You got you've got American tour coming up, I assume, sometime shortly thereafter, Dallas?
Yep. We'll be going to, actually, we got Australia and China for November. And I think we're home until January, February. And then that's cool. When the American tour happens.
Cool. I'll be out front. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else coming down the pike that you'd like people to know about? I mean, that's plenty.
No, man, that's pretty much what's going on.
Hey, I got a suggestion for a business proposition for you, and I don't mean between you and me. I mean so I can buy it, and it's I need a guitar instructional DVD from you, dude. Love to see you do that.
That's cool. I was thinking about I need to upgrade some of my equipment. I'm kind of still in the last century with my recording gear. I love the way the old stuff sounds, but I need to kind of ramp it up. But I was thinking about maybe, I've been getting some questions about some of the solo work that I've done on various things, and I was thinking about just maybe throwing up a YouTube channel and breaking down a few of the solos or whatever, because there actually has been some interest for that, and I just got to get the time to put something together that I could actually put something together with some quality.
Yeah, you'd get some followers, dude, because
For those who want to follow you, Dallas, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Facebook.
Well, you know, I got the Facebook thing going on. That's fine. I need to go ahead and make an official page. I've always been. I'm very recluse. I'm kind of a private person. All that stuff is kind of freaking me out at first. But yeah, you know, check me out on Facebook. I'm definitely there. You can check out the Nile website. You can check out the Narcotic Wasteland website. And that's a good way to get in contact with me.
Cool. I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. This is like kind of a high point of my podcasting life. Really, I'm a big fan of yours, big fan of Nile. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we're back now with another song from Narcotic Wasteland to close out the show. What do you got picked out for us, Dallas?
Well, I was going to go with one, but now I think what I'm going to do is go with Absent Friends. The track, I think I mentioned before, it's very special to me. It hits home with a person that was very close to me that I lost due to an overdose. And the beginning is got kind of an unusual thing for metal. And I don't know if anybody ever picked this up or not. I've done it on a couple of little things on some Nile stuff, but the beginning guitar part, I'm using a slide. I'm playing slide guitar.
I don't mind telling you, Dallas, I did pick up on that.
Okay, cool.
I did, and I'm glad you chose that song because it does stand out as kind of a different thing. One thing, it's the closing track on the record, so it's a great way to close our pod today. But it's an emotional thing in the beginning, and then of course it comes up with some of that good Narcotic Wasteland anger and emotion. Fucking great choice, dude. Love it.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you, man. Yeah. So without further ado, here is Absent Friends from Narcotic Wasteland.